has the power when it changes to stop the inertia of moving vehicles, and so therefore it has energy. Yes.
Yeah.
To stop or to create momentum in physical objects. So I see how maybe it's not measurable what it does, but there's just, what do you think, Antarta? Somehow there has to be a way, or I really do believe that certain symbols do emit energy frequencies.
I absolutely agree with that. I just wanted to point out I couldn't hear what the other guest was saying at all. So I can't reiterate on what he said at all. So I'm just going to have to talk from my perspective, I guess. Or could you reiterate what he said?
Matt was just talking about how certain objects that he has investigated, that the energy that he's able to detect from his EMF detector is typically, he thinks, items that have had a spirit attached to it, or there's some kind of, for lack of a better phrase, a haunted item, is where the energy comes from, not necessarily just from the item itself.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. I think that I would even go even farther than that objects can hold energy of the owners even if they're still living. That's the people who have psychometry. They basically have that ability to hold an object and give information about the person that owned it, whether they're living or dead, because they can trace that energy line to that person.
Okay, and last week we had Carol Pollard on, and she had said basically the same thing. Energy, everything leaves an energy signal, was what she said. We are energy, and it lingers.
Exactly. So it can extend even past the death perspective, but that absolutely there's many objects, either good or bad, that can contain energy of the people that owned it or worshipped it or anything.
So are there symbols, or I think we should just, I don't know, it's so many directions we can go in, but let's just stick with just symbols.
I'm just curious that perhaps that the symbol itself doesn't emanate some kind of, like, for example, if you put a swastika on, like, let's say Dr. Emoto put a swastika on the bucket, that would, somehow affect the images, just because of the fact that it is a swastika and it has negative connotations for people that are, have grown up in the 20th century. That makes sense. If it was from somebody, let's say if it was a swastika and there were people that were walking by in the 1800s, it would be different, right?
Right, and that the swastika was actually an ancient symbol of the Egyptian pantheon, so it was actually seen in a positive light, and that it wasn't until the 20th century that it was seen in a negative light.
Wow, that's amazing. We're going to be getting into a little bit more of that, just the symbols themselves here in the next segment. So we're going to stick with us here. And again, Matt, if you could mute, we're going to go ahead and go into another song. This is a song from a young lady named Amy Kress, and this song is called Numb. And we are listening to
Radio Freezer Block Radio Network. You're listening to Best Denver Psychic. We'll be right back.
And I'm waiting for your love to
find me. Sorry. I don't know why you can't hear me.
Looking for something to satisfy me. Maybe you know I'm here and you're wondering what to do to tell me that you know my fears and you're here to help me, Oh, I feel empty, I feel hollow, and it's aching in my soul. Searching for an answer, something more to make me whole. I roam the streets, looking for something to feed my hunger. I'm wandering blind as I move grows much stronger. My soul needs more, something bright to light its dark existence. I cease to care whom I hurt with my selfish insistence. I am empty, I am hollow, and I'm aching in my soul. I am searching for an answer, something more to make me whole. Maybe you can give me what I need, something that's been missing all night long. I've been searching for that something, baby. I feel like it's all been going wrong. I feel empty, I feel cold, and I'm aching in my soul. But I am searching for an answer, something more to make me whole. I am empty, I am hollow, I am aching in my soul. I am searching for an answer, something more to make me whole.
Welcome back. You're listening to Best Denver Psychic. I'm your host, Gina, and I'm here with my co-host and producer, Steve Alverdi.
Sure. And what were you looking for, real quick? That's all right.
Oh, the graphics of the
Yep,
other symbols that we have. Okay,
all
sweet.
of those, we're good to
Okay,
go.
guys.
So
And we've got Matt Uni with us from Colorado Paranormal Rescue, and we also have Andarta, our resident beautiful pagan. How are you, Andarta? Oh, Andarta, you're muted.
you're good now. I think.
Oh, are you good? Matt, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so we wanted to go back for a little minute here, and I don't think Andarta can hear you, but let's start with you. Are you able to hear Andarta, Matt?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Okay, so Andarta, this time I'd like to start with you and find out just from a magical perspective, how do you attach energies to different items? And then I may have Matt talk about how or why that energy is not measurable, because I think that's important. So why don't you tell us, Andarta, about how energies become attached to items, and maybe if you're aware of any items or any symbols that are naturally powerful that you would think could be measured with an energy measuring device.
Okay. Well, first I want to clarify something from the previous break, or before the break, that I had said that the swastika was an Egyptian symbol when it was actually a Hindu symbol. I apologize. It's been a long day. I just wanted to clarify that for historical purposes.
For historical
Right,
purposes. Dude, I promise you these shows will haunt you.
yeah, you'll get called out. You'll get called out.
Yeah, 5 years from now, you'll be like, oh my God, I remember when it was the beginning of that show.
So anyway, so as far as putting energy onto an object, I mean, it all depends on what the object is as to how much energy is being put into it. I mean, people often think of maybe like Harry Potter and how the different objects can have power or contain spirits or whatnot. And it's basically all the intent of the person as to whether or not they see that object as important. You can make a simple pencil very energetic if you really like that pencil. So it doesn't even have to be a special magical object or symbol or thing like that. It's just, if it's something that's very important to that person, they can start, subconsciously even building this connection with this material object. And so then you get into, you know, tablets or any sacred objects of any culture. And, you know, people often talk about how they can feel the energy of certain objects, especially if you go into any type of museums. You can definitely feel the energy of hundreds or thousands of years worth of energy built onto those objects. And it all depends on, you know, who all had it, what they used it for, if it was something that they worshipped or that it represented a deity of theirs. It is definitely going to have a lot of energy to it. And that even things like the pentagram, that is an ancient symbol that goes to the medieval period, before people all got freaked out about it and thought about, you know, Satanism and the inverted pentagram and all that. The pentagram is actually a very positive symbol. It was seen as a symbol of protection. Even looking at Sir Gawain the Green Knight, he has his shield, and on the front of it is the pentagram. And he is a Christian knight. So the pentagram did not go against his Christian beliefs, because it was a symbol of power that negated any type of religious ideal.
Okay, so hold on. I want to know, tell me about the inverted pentagram. As we were researching the show, that was one of, I think one of the symbols that we have to look at is Baphomet.
Right.
We got we have a great shot of Baphomet, of a Baphomet statue that is beautiful, I think. But I mean, for, you know, but, and I noticed there was some correlations when looking at the pentagram, the difference between the inverted pentagram and the right side up version. So why don't you tell us about that?
Well, there is just been a lot of connection with Satanism and with the satanic cult and their usage of the pentagram, but it's inverted, it's flipped upside down so that there's the 2 points up at the top, and that it symbolizes their deity, basically. So they have just taken a symbol that, you know, was an ancient symbol and just altered it a bit.
So point up is not necessarily a satanic symbol. It's more of a symbol of luck.
No, if it's looking like a regular star,
like a Jewish star,
circle,
basically.
Then, but the Jewish star has 6 points, whereas the pentagram has 5. And so if the 1 point is up, then that is just considered a regular pentagram, and then the inverted pentagram is where they're the 2 points up. And that often represented the horns, you know, of Satan. So, so, you know, it's not necessarily, you know, a new thing as far as taking an object or a symbol and converting it to your belief system.
Right.
But people today still confuse that and just associate the regular pentagram with Satanism because of the lack of knowledge concerning the neo-pagan movement and the Wiccan movement, as well as, you know, and the difference between that and Satanism.
So I don't know if you can, maybe from where you are, if you have access to a computer, if you can pull up the Baphomet symbol. In the next segment, I think I'd like to talk about the symbol that is across his stomach. Is an interesting symbol, but let's break down that symbol. Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, so in your experience on it with you know, using your electromagnetic field detector, have you ever hit on a pentagram or some item that someone has put enough energy in? I mean, what do you think, that it's an energy imprint? How do you tell if it's an energy imprint, like Andarta was talking about, you know, where focusing on an object basically imprints it with that person's energy, or if it has an attachment? How do you know that?
Usually when we come across things like that, we find an object that has some sort of energy reading off of it. That's where we usually rely on our or psychics to tell us if they can connect with it. Is it like a sentient being, or is it something that maybe just imprinted like a feeling or a thought? So that's kind of the, we can detect it with the EMF detector, but then we try to figure out more what it is by, working with the psychics.
Okay. And are you able to clear the energy off of items that people are putting the energy on?
What we try to do is we try to help it by smudging. We try to help clear it out a little bit. I don't think it's something that we could guarantee or even, we've never encountered the situation where we've been able to remove it completely. But that kind of goes back a little bit to the psychometry that she had mentioned. And that's also kind of one of the things we've been trying to work with as well in kind of our studies with things like that.
Well, we'll hook you up with Andarta.
Yes.
She's
I'd love
got some good info, baby. Okay, so Andarta.
Yes.
Okay, so do you feel like all symbols are kind of created equal, or some are more powerful, just intrinsically more powerful than others?
I think part of it is it all depends on the amount of people. I mean, if you're just looking at a symbol, it all depends on how many people put energy into the honoring of that symbol as to how powerful it may or may not be. The idea of the Bible can be seen as a very powerful object or tool, but that, also things like trees or the idea of the tree can be a very powerful symbol depending on who the people are as far as how much energy they're putting out into that.
Well, I think that Baphomet symbol is pretty, I'm pretty struck by it. What about you, Steve? I mean, we're sitting here looking at the graphic and it's like, wow. I mean, that is definitely, I think, Andarta, what you were saying was that the collective consciousness,
Right.
people's feelings about it, especially, the crucifix.
You know what kind
Baphomet.
of trips me out about it, though? Baphomet, he's like, the symbol of evil or whatever. He's not wearing a shirt. He's got wings, but he's wearing pants. I don't understand. Why would Baphomet be hiding his goat legs?
Oh, good question. Or is
but he
even?
also has a human body or human chest, though, too.
Right.
And it's kind of androgynous, actually.
Well, I guess
Right.
it could be a
Yeah.
man,
Right.
woman type of the chest, at least in this photo or in this
But
statue.
evilness, that's kind of where you're coming from.
Right. Well, no, I'm just trying to be funny because I don't understand why he would wear pants.
Hey, somebody wears a pants in that family. Because he's fashionable.
I guess so.
Damn.
Draft.
Yeah.
But it also, it's an ancient, well, not ancient, but, looking at the witchcraft trials, it was the worship of the goat or of Satan, that he would come in the form of many different animals, but often it's the goat. And so that was just the concept of what witchcraft was, so that they would project or think of, okay, so what would be really horrendous, as far as how would evil present itself? Will it come as this big crazy monster, or is it going to come as an everyday goat that can be altered? That was scarier than some big scary monster that is, has 6 heads or something like that. And so even though he is very intimidating, I would say, the concept of Satan, especially in the form of the goat from the witchcraft trials, is that the hooved one, just looking at all of the different elements, of their everyday life, that it would be scary to wonder, oh, is this actually Satan? Because they believe that the witches would worship Satan and he would come into a goat, and so then they would often have sex with them or something like that. So, it's just like, how bad can it get? What is the worst things that these witches can possibly do? So
Well, and
There-
cloven hoofed animals in Leviticus were part of the unclean or forbidden animals as well. So
right,
Wow.
exactly.
Wow. So, wow, cool. That's a lot of crazy stuff. We're going to, it really is.
do
man.
do 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 do.
In the next segment, we're going to actually get into a couple of symbols themselves and talk about what they might mean, some interpretations, and all the rest.
And we're going to get up some graphics too. I hope.
Yeah, we're trying.
All
We're
right.
figuring
Well,
that out.
you're listening to Best Denver Psychic on Frieza Block Radio Network, and we'll be right back.
Lived in a house on a hill. It wasn't too long before I started to feel like the house was haunted. It always felt like there was somebody behind me, or somebody watching me, or things moving that shouldn't be, that sort of thing. And then one day all of that stopped. I came home, I didn't hear these strange sounds. I didn't feel like there was anybody behind me. And in that moment, I realized that I actually preferred to be haunted.
Absent-minded at best. If you're the ghost, then I'm the exorcist. These fearful people want you to leave, but I have decided you should stay here with me. The trees are skeletons in winter. The flowers grow in their sun. The moon casts waves across the ocean. And none of this will change if we're in love. Built a room that had no windows. They said this place would tame the mind. A heart's no place to harbor lost ghosts. And we think that you should spend more time inside. The trees are skeletons in winter. The flowers grow where there's sun. The moon casts waves across the ocean. And none of this will change if we are in love.
You're tuned in to the Freedom Block Network. Thank you for joining us. Free speech, it's all right.
Counting all my cards and I'm losing in the house and I'm out on the open sea. And if you get them with me, if you get them in me, 'cause he's an hiding in the need, in the need, in the heat, in the storm, in the storm, in the heat, in the heat, Counting all my cards and I'm losing in the house and I'm out on the open sea. And if you get up with me, if you get up with me, 'cause he's a lady. In the knee, heavy. And a slow, baby, in the heat, heavy. And a little baby, without the sting. Counting my cards and I'm out in the house and I'm out on the open sea. And if you get down and if you get out, if you get with me, and it's easy, and it's easiness. And a slow baby needs me, and he hates me. And a little baby. The clouds and I'm out on the open sea. And if you get down, if you get out, if you get with me, and it's sing, and it's easiness. And a slow baby needs me, and he needs me. And a little baby. And I smell the bees, and you got the honey without the sting. I smell the bees, yes, I smell the bees, you got the honey without the sting. Honey on your eyelids, you got bees on your tongue and a heart on your sleeve. Honey on your eyelids, you got bees on your tongue and a heart on your sleeve. Honey on your eyelids, you got bees on your tongue and a heart on your sleeve. Honey on your eyelids, you got bees on your tongue and a heart on your sleeve. You got bees and the bees and the bees and the bees and
And welcome back. You're here with Best Denver Psychic. I'm your host, Gina, clinical forensic hypnotist and psychic medium. And I'm here with Steve Alverdi, the HMFIC of FBRN Network. You like that?
Yes.
I got the whole call letter
Deal.
stuff on there. And Darty, you're still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And Matt, you're still here too, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. And Darty can't hear you, Matt, so we'll just have to bear with while we're doing our thing.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you know what though? I have to say we have the best guests ever. Don't you think we have the best guests ever? And Darty, you're a trooper. You can't hear us, and that's that makes it fun. You can tune in on the ether. It
See how
is.
psychic I am.
That's right. Okay, and so I think we're going to talk. Did we? Where were we just a minute ago? And Darta, did we wrap that up?
I think so.
Okay, great. So I sent, just in case we were unable to get the graphic up, I did send you guys a link to another page that we had here. Was everybody able to pull that up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. Okay, so, I guess how you feel about the title of this web page kind of depends on maybe your religious affiliation. Can we say that? Okay, so
Sure.
but I think the reason that we kind of talked about, or I think they're the whole satanic sign thing is it's a response that people have. I don't know. Why don't you talk about that, Endarta? It gets a bad rap sometimes. I mean,
Satanism?
Satanism and just kind of sometimes the pagan symbols. I mean, but
Well,
I think
which image would you
Oh,
like
yeah.
to start with? I mean, you know,
let's
there's so
start.
many.
Let's start with the first one. The Mitsubishi Motors, I think, is the first one that we have on there. That was
I have it.
okay.
I know I do.
And you can see, Endarta, it's the what are those symbols?
Are you talking about the
The
Illuminati?
Yep, the
motif
first, the
they're talking about?
Mitsubishi.
Okay.
Yep.
They have the circle, the penis and the vagina, Eye of Horus, rising sun, swoosh as in horizon.
Yep.
Star of David, pentagrams, blah, blah, blah.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, at what point? Why do you think these images create such a reaction in people? Number one, and maybe even I don't know. I mean, we didn't plan on getting into this, but I'd be interested in hearing your take on the Illuminati.
What I think?
Yeah, I mean, just generally, what do you think about?
You know, I mean, I think that I think that there are many different layers of truths and untruths concerning, Illuminati and any type of conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theories, they can very well be fact. And, I don't sit around worrying about it myself because I figure that, I don't allow others. I know that we all have to, in a way, surrender to societal beliefs and, pay
Right.
our rent and have a job of some sort and, and take care of our children and things like that so that you got to, do the thing in order to fit in and whatnot. But I think that sometimes there's always going to be something to analyze and to pick apart. I mean, I'm a medievalist, and we're all about, finding symbols and picking things apart at the same time. In theory, whether or not there's a lot of energy in that symbol or not, whether they actually meant to have that, like the
good point.
the Mitsubishi, whether or not they meant it or not. I hope.
Are you one to believe that there are, I guess, subconscious energies and vibrations that come from certain symbols, like, for example, the pentagram and, that type of thing?
I think it's possible. I mean, I don't know if the pentagrams, being worn around people's necks are, definitely affecting other people other than it may offend them. Whether or not it's sending out all of that energy, it's basically however much energy is being put into that symbol, either on a positive or a negative note. I mean, if there are a lot of people that want to put a lot of negative energy into the pentagram because they see it as evil, then it is going to be a lot more offensive and people are going to be more sensitive about it. I think that the more people understand what the symbol means, I think that it won't be as offensive, so therefore it may not have as negative of energies, if that's what you want to call it.
Well, and it's only offensive. It's only offensive if you don't subscribe to the philosophy. I mean,
Right.
It's you that puts the power into it, right?
Well, Bill
One
and
way or the
Melinda
other.
Gates, right? They're into, they provide birth control in third world countries, etc. And, there's a lot of people that say that that's wrong and it's part of this Agenda 21, whatever. Okay, but a lot of people would say that's really smart. And that you're actually helping women and, all of that. So I'm with you, Endarta. I think that the reaction that people can get from the symbols is different. Depending on your philosophy. So do you frequently notice different symbols in, I don't know, everyday, advertising, or we're just going to say everyday advertising, or, different things that you, I don't know, that strike a chord in you?
You mean like on regular commercials on TV, or
Yeah,
just
like on this, like specifically to this website that we're looking at. Okay,
this
like
website? Okay.
if you scroll down just a little bit, they have the Walt Disney 666, which I totally thought was a stretch.
I really think that is a very much of a stretch. I think that is more of a right-wingist trying to inscript more, that negative energies onto Walt Disney because of their more liberal belief systems, as a company overall. And so I think that oftentimes, if anybody is looking for something, then they're going to find something.
Well, and that's adding negative energy to that symbol too. Yes, is that what?
Right.
Is that what we're okay? Boy,
Yes,
that's a
exactly.
numbers game, huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
Hence
so. I mean,
the
especially, you can see like the very first 6, that might be a little clear, but then the rest of them is like, really, I really don't see that at all.
right. Well, and they're
I mean, it's really stretching it.
yeah, it's really
and
stretching.
actually, really, I don't know. Like you said, you could see whatever you want to see in it.
Right. Well, and I think that, I don't know, what are we going to call them? The more conservative people, the mainline Christian thinkers, definitely have an issue with Walt Disney.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I always didn't mind Walt Disney just because the bad guys were the bad guys and the good guys were the good guys. And I feel like that makes it clear enough.
But remember, like they say, nothing is
Nothing is as it seems.
Anything,
Nothing is as it seems.
Whatever I'm trying to say.
I know.
God.
Steve is sick. Oh,
Matt, what's your take on the deal?
I agree with what y'all have been saying. I think sometimes people will intentionally put little things in their logos. Like one on top of my head is like the FedEx. It has an arrow that's pointing for like delivery or whatever it is. But then I think a lot of them are just how people perceive it. We find that a lot in our investigations where people will send me a lot of pictures, and they do that kind of matrixing thing where their eyes and their brains try to see something there, and will sometimes create something that may not be there just so that they can understand it. So sometimes we'll get pictures like, well, do you see the demon in the background? And it's not something that we really, I can kind of see it, but it really looks like it's just shadows. So I think perception is very key in this kind of thing. Like the Walt Disney one, I mean, I grew up watching Disney movies and still watch them, and watch them with my daughter now, and I didn't see the 666 thing until now.
Right? I mean, pretty, of all the things, I mean, Disney's like the least of our worries.
Well, that's what they say,
I mean, really.
And again, there's been lots of accusations of lots of that kind of stuff through, because the thing is, like they like to say, is the best way to indoctrinate is through the children. And so they figure that right away that, obviously Disney, children, kids, cartoons, images, they can go ahead and infiltrate those into their brains. And we grew up with it thinking that's one thing when really it might mean another. And it might, affect our subconscious and our psyche in a way that we don't even realize.
Well, and I've been involved in multiple cults.
That's, of course,
I guess this is the show to admit that.
Speculation. All that speculation, by the way.
Yeah. So I've been in multiple cults, and mostly Christian in orientation in the last 20 years or so. But even Barbie. I mean, there's whole books written about Barbie and the effect that she has, and all of these different things, and Mattel, the Mattel symbol, and whatnot. So I think unraveling all that can be, a job, quite frankly, because I think there are things out there. And Darda, what kind of things do you, or what kind of symbols, or what do you do? You have a daughter. I imagine it's something different for you.
As far as symbols that are seen in a negative light,
that you're offended by. I mean, I'm thinking
Westboro.
Westboro Baptist Church. I mean, I totally tell my kids, when you're in heaven, you'll be safe because they will not be there. Guaranteed. Oh, Matt. I
Sorry.
mean, honestly, you know.
Yeah.
So what kind of
Um,
symbols? I'm just curious from a druid priestess perspective.
Well, you know, I think that the gender roles are a separate thing, but as far as like Barbies and how, you know, there's this, you know, portrayal of how people are supposed to look or what's accepted. You know, I sometimes get offended just by things like girls always being pressured into wearing makeup all the time, or that's what, you know, they should wear or do or things like that. But yeah, definitely I definitely would agree about the Westboro.
I mean, and really, you know, and Darda, I've
they-
known you a long time or long enough
Mhm.
to know that we have the same moral code.
Right.
I mean, you know, I mean, as far as just ladies, you know,
Well,
I mean,
know,
it is crazy out there for girls.
But you know, okay,
and, you know,
we're getting a little bit off the subject. I mean, when it comes to images, like, do you see things like when they're watching, let's say they're watching an award show and you're seeing these images flash up, the pyramids, the all seeing eye, and they sometimes they kind of like tongue in cheek it. But in you know, a lot of people think that, hey man, they're, you know, they're tongue in cheeking it, but really it is doing something to your subconscious. It's doing
Right.
something to your brain. It's doing something to you. So I mean, what's your take on all that?
Well, I mean, I think that sometimes not necessarily the cross, but how the cross is used is offensive to me. Because or, you know, like people using, you know, like the nails as symbolize. I mean, it's, you know, the nails that they hang up to represent the nails that hung Christ and things like that. That stuff just when it's that in your face and that you have to believe this and think this, and that this, you know, then it seems to be, it turns me off. It really can't offend me, especially if it's constantly brought up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? We're running up on a quick break. We're gonna play another song. This one's called "New Religion" by another band I really
New
like.
Religion,
Yeah,
right
it's called
on, dude. You
Sunboy.
are so
We're
subject matter oriented.
gonna get Matt's take on a lot of the stuff that we see on television and in everyday situations, and on the other side. So stick with us.
Be right back. Best Denver Psychic here on the Frieza Block Radio Network.
What you like, 'cause we're gonna die, we're gonna What do you know? What do you know? just wanna quit. So calling all you intelligent listeners, calling all the system. This is Let's see what it feels like. Unrestrained your life. Make up your mind with what you like. Put it down, put it
You're tuned in to the Freedom Block Network. Thank you for joining us. Free speech, it's all right.
And welcome back to Best Denver Psychic. I'm Gina, a clinical forensic hypnotist and psychic medium, and this is Steve Valverde, the host of the wildly successful Frieza Block radio network.
Wildly successful.
Wildly successful. You can catch him Thursdays at 5. Hey, dude, your show is awesome.
Did you actually listen to it last week?
Yes.
Last week, it was really cool. I was lucky enough to have an entire crew of rap artists in. The entire label came in, which was really cool. There was at least 10, 15 guys there, all local guys really trying to make it big on a national scale. I think they can do it, but they just got to, keep hustling and keep grinding, man. It's big shouts out to Individual Kings Media Enterprises.
It's a tough world out there.
Yeah, not only are they rappers and hip hop artists, they're also into the cinematography and the video and all that good stuff.
Very cool. Yeah. All right.
All right.
So we're here with Andarta.
And Matt.
How's Andarta right now?
I'm okay. I'm going to need to get going here in a couple minutes. I got some kiddos to put to bed.
Oh, okay, great. And Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay, great. Well, Andarta, we'll start with you then, since you're dipping. Okay, Steve. Steve had some symbols he wanted to talk about here.
Yeah, just real quick. They're pretty obvious stuff, but there are things that appear in advertising and in everything everywhere. So we're going to start with pyramid. Now, the pyramid that obviously has a lot of a connotation, a lot of energy going to and from it. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The pyramids, people often mostly think of the Egyptians and their power system, but there are actually pyramids that they found throughout the entire world from all different cultures that before Facebook, and they were all liking each other's pyramids. They were figuring that out. And so, the pyramid is a very powerful symbol because it represents enlightenment also power, because it has 5 points, the 4 base and then the one on the top that is conducting energy, if you're looking at it from a metaphysical point of view. And it was also a place of worship and a place that they would put their honored dead, as well as where they felt that their deities resided. So it was a very powerful symbol, especially for the Egyptians, but also for the Mayans. They had their own structure of pyramids, in Babylon, all throughout the world.
All right, and that and it obviously means a lot of stuff to a lot of different people, and obviously it does hold a lot of power, because I don't think a lot of these companies and corporations would be using them in their logos so prevalently. I got one more before we let you go real quick, and that is that of the owl. Explain to us what an owl would mean in your world, I guess.
In my world,
I
I
don't
don't know if
know.
you want to go
It's
to my
all of our
world.
world, Steve. It's all of our world.
Well, the owl is definitely a symbol of wisdom that is sort of seen in many different cultures. It also is seen as, sometimes a foreboding symbol, symbolizing somebody is going to die or something. But I think it's more superstition that's way past the time period of the ancients that looked at the different animals and their symbolic meanings. That the owl is able to see into the darkness, which is something that humans cannot do, and so therefore it can be a little unsettling. But if you look at the owl as an animal that represents a different deity, we have Athena. She is the goddess of wisdom, and her owl is, often linked with her. Looking at Blodeuwedd, she is the Welsh maiden of flowers, and she transforms into the owl, and this was seen it could be seen as in a negative light, but it also reflected the wisdom within the goddesses of the ancient times.
So are you bothered by, I mean, I guess there's extremism on any point of view. Are
Yeah.
you bothered by, I guess, I don't even know what the word is. Pagans, I assume, is a good catchphrase, right? Or people who have alternative, viewpoints other than the Christian reality, if there is.
Yeah, well, pagans are pretty much just about anybody that is not monotheistic.
Oh, okay.
So that would be
are you
Christian,
bothered by
Jewish.
pagans who perpetuate this concept or try to, of secret symbols, etc.? I mean, I think that happens on both ends. Just like Westboro Baptist Church, what a terrible thing it is that they use the cross for anything that they ascribe to.
Sure. I don't know if I'm trying to think of some symbols that pagans may use in a negative light. Because the owl is one of the, as far as animal totems go, that's one of the faves.
Right. But I mean,
and things like that.
I guess my question is, for some of these symbols, although we didn't pull up this information for the purpose of tonight, but some of these symbols, they're openly promoting, they're trying to connect it to some kind of occult meaning.
Sure,
I'm sure to make money.
Sure, and it's all scare tactics. You have your Rush Limbaughs and all the other. I could think of some different words to say about them that just love to talk about stuff that they really know nothing about, but because they have big mouths, people listen to them. And so, you have a lot of people that are very scared or just like to make up stuff about certain beliefs or cultures or things like that. Even just the idea of the word ISIS, working at ISIS bookstore, about once a week we get people asking about, do you guys get bothered about, ISIS over in the Middle East? And it's like, well, that's not actually ISIS, it's ISIL. And
plus, it looks great on a Google search. I mean, if you Google ISIS, the bookstore comes up. So that's not a bad thing.
Right, exactly. But a lot of people associate, because the media uses that term for that terrorist group, that people don't have any clue of who ISIS actually was.
Well, and speaking of ISIS, that was one of the symbols, because I think that, when I hear people, going to the dark side about symbols, the all-seeing eye, or the Eye of Horus, is definitely one of those symbols that people identify.
The Eye of Horus freaks them out.
Now, tell us a little bit about the Eye of Horus.
Well, the Eye of Horus, Horus was the son of Isis and Osiris, and he was the sun god. And I'm not as proficient in Egypt. I know in Egyptian mythology. I know the basics of it. But yeah, I think it's just that all-seeing eye, but it's from an ancient time that is not of Christian realm. It's way before the the Christian dynasty, basically, or Christian belief systems took over. So therefore, it has these, it's very mystical, metaphysical, supernatural meaning that the Eye of Horus. Oh no, not that one. It's not the same thing as the evil eye.
Okay, what's the difference
belief
between
system.
the evil? What's the difference between the evil eye? You know what symbol that is, right, Steve? That's the blue. Sometimes it's
a
depicted in a blue bead,
right?
and
Yeah,
it's
it's like
got
a
the.
big blue glass bead, and it has a white in the center and then blue on the inside. It's called the evil eye.
And what's the difference? Tell us a little bit about the evil eye as well.
The evil eye, I mean, it's just, you think that, carrying around an evil eye would actually, be bad, but it actually is pushing away evil. And so the eye is always watching out for that evil. And the Eye of Horus has a similar concept, the sight, perception, watching over that, it is a bit different. It's not, it can be seen as a protective thing, just like the evil eye, but it's connected to a deity, whereas I don't believe that the evil eye is connected to a specific deity. Not from any of my research that I've done, but
Right.
I could be wrong on that.
Well, and it's just it's just very interesting as far as, some theories that are floated out there that just the loss of privacy that we have, just
Right.
generally, that whenever it's the all-seeing eye, you're wondering who's watching you.
Right. Well, and then I also think that, that's why psychics tend to freak people out, is that people are like, oh, they're going to know what I'm thinking or something.
I'm a psychic, not a mind reader. All right. So, Andarta, we're going to take a break. Can you hold on with us over the break or no?
I really need to get going.
Okay.
so.
Hey, Andarta, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And hopefully we'll
You're
get
welcome.
we'll get the sound. We can have you on video next time. And we were posting the most awesome picture of you. You look so good, and you're just awesome. Yeah, we feel really privileged to have you here. And so
Well, thank you very much.
yep, we'll all catch you on the flip flop, sister.
All
Yes,
right,
thank you
talk
so
to
much.
later.
All right,
Have a
Andarta.
good evening. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was Andarta, and you're listening to Best Denver Psychic, and we'll be right back.
Well, what are we going to be talking about on the
Oh,
other side? We still got
I think,
Matt here.
yeah, I want to
Thank
talk
you
to
for
Matt.
hanging on, Matt. by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Sorry, Andarta had to, well, you heard all that.
Yeah, that's okay. She's pretty cool.
She's very cool. We'll talk about her on the other side of the break too as well, because I want to get your thoughts. You were able to hear her.
Yes.
So, now we can comment on what she said. And on the flip side, I would like to talk to Matt about his experiences in different paranormal investigations and hauntings as far as the presence of different symbols.
Yes, indeed.
All right. We will be right back on Frieza Block Radio Network.
Ashes dripped on down through broken remains of treetops. Winds bear as bone and sinew, stark, white, and frail. Reaching to a horizon that they will never know. The fire burned the dead would never bend to grow. Bring on the pain, bring on the rise. In it we are reborn, a whisper and a tiny spark. Bring forth the fire, bring forth the fire, and let it burn. Rage and power rips through this place, and yet it's calm. Using the fear that brought them to life to belong. Reaching to a horizon that they Let it score. Let it score. Let it score. Let it grow. Let it die. Let it grow. New life. Bring on the pain. Bring on the light. In it we are reborn. A whisper and a tiny spark. Bring forth the fire. Bring forth the fire. And let it spark.
You're tuned in to the Freedom Block Network. Thank you for joining us. Free speech, it's all right.
And welcome back to Best Denver Psychic here on the Frieza Block Radio Network. We're here tonight with our, we had multiple guests. We had Andarta. She is now gone. She is no longer with us. I mean, she's still with
Not on
us,
the show.
but she's not on the show. And we have Matt here. Hey, Matt, how's it going? Hey, thanks for hanging on.
No problem. I am still here.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Yes,
you are
thank-
still here.
Yes,
Way to
thank
go,
you so
bro.
much, Matt, for hanging on. You know, sometimes you know, people got busy schedules.
Yeah, and that was and because of the audio issue, we wanted to not break away from her. Okay, and hey, tell us, you're having a psychic party.
Yeah, I'm having a psychic party. It's something I try to do 2 or 3 times a year. It's a nice environment where I bring my ghosting team in with our equipment people as well as our psychics. And it's a friendly environment where certain psychics can sometimes try different things. Like if they want to try tarot cards, they can try those. If they wanted to try to do some ESP activities, they can do that. If they want to do readings on people, they can try to do that. And so basically what we do is we have a lot of fun, and we set up separate rooms for people's privacy, so that these psychics can try to do what they do and get some positive feedback from it.
Nice. Yeah, it's hard to read publicly.
I bet. I can only imagine.
I mean, yeah, because I've been doing it and for the general public for 8 years.
Mhm.
And man, sometimes you still sit down and you're like, oh my God, what if the information doesn't come? But it always
Well,
seems
if it
to,
doesn't,
thank God.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Well, I just
natural,
tell
right?
people I got nothing.
It's natural. It's
You just-
natural.
You just have to tell people you don't have anything if you don't have anything.
Yeah.
I mean, an honest psychic does. Okay,
Exactly.
so Matt, I wanted to ask about kind of on a paranormal investigative track about symbols. When you go to a location where the homeowner, if we can call it that, or your client, you call them clients, right?
Yes.
Okay. My husband always says only hookers have clients. I'm like, it's like, okay, honey, whatever you
All
say.
right.
Wells Fargo Home Mortgage doesn't care if I call them clients. Okay, so when you go with clients and you're working with them, talk a little bit about people who bring an obsessive spirit maybe to some of the symbols, or where there's just, under what circumstances would you tell someone they shouldn't have a certain symbol in their house?
Well, that's a good question.
Would you ever do that?
Well, yes and no. We're paranormal investigators. It's not like we've got degrees in it or all the professional training and the schooling behind it. We just work with what we have and to try to help people. And there's been some instances where we kind of try to recommend, maybe you should probably go see. And that's where sometimes we'll refer them to certain psychics, such as yourself, or others at, as mentioned before, ISIS bookstore. But there are certain times where we find that people will have certain objects in their house sometimes that can they don't emit a negative energy, but it kind of causes a negative energy from that person. When they look at it, it makes them feel a certain way. And when they tell us that information, like, well, maybe it's time for you to part ways with an object.
Right. Okay. So, and you sense that, or, I mean, I guess my question is, if someone had a bunch of, I don't know what, I'm trying to think of something that might, okay, let's say, well, one time I went into a lady's house and she had floor to ceiling horror novels, like in all 4 walls of her house. And she wondered why she was having trouble. And so I'm just wondering, I know, unfortunately you were not there that time, but, I was just wondering if maybe the EMF detector might actually hit on that section, just on that section of the house or whatever, just based on her energy. But you did not have to be a psychic to know that was trouble for her.
Yeah, I mean, this whole segment brought up a lot of interesting stuff, and I'm really kind of eager on the next investigation to look into a little bit more. Just based on what I've seen, I would kind of say it wouldn't come from the books, but maybe it would create some sort of energy that we would be able to read from the person.
Right, because if the energy goes out, in Reiki, we talked about earlier that scientific thing that they've proven that energy actually does come out of the human body when you're doing Reiki. And so if it comes out, I like to visualize it as like a beam of light that comes out. It would charge those items, just like, I'm sure if Andarta were here, she would talk about charging certain ritual items, etc. And very interesting. I forgot where I was going with that. I mean, so many things come to your mind, that I really think that's cool. Now, do you find, if you like the EMF detector, obviously, and I'm just wondering, are there more sensitive EMF detectors, or are they all about the same? Oh, hang on, Matt.
You still there? What happened? Did we lose him?
Did we lose Matt? Oh no, there he is. Hey, Matt.
I don't know. The screen is just like blank.
Matt, are you there?
All right.
Dang, we lost Matt. Okay, well, we'll see if we can get him back. Let me see here.
Well, that's strange.
Okay, so Steve, where are you at on all this?
I don't know. I was actually getting ready for him to ask something about EMF detectors. If they're, let's say they go to a place where it's not like, for example, I guess let's say a crime scene that was really bad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there was death there, and perhaps the spirit or whatever was in there, and it was attached to it. There was an object. There was like let's say a something that somebody wore, for example, one of the victims wore something, and it was still there. I mean, how much would it, would it emit? You know what I mean? How much would that?
Yep, I'm gonna have Matt call us.
That's all good. Yeah, I mean, I was just wondering how much, how does it just go off like crazy? Or does it, nothing? I don't even understand how any of that works, to tell you the truth.
Oh, well, let's find out from Matt.
Okay. Is he calling or what?
I think so. Hang on here.
That was really weird how we.
That's funny. Well, I tell you what, let's play another song.
That sounds like a good idea.
Okay, and we'll be right back. We're gonna hook up with Matt
right in the middle of the whole deal.
Maybe the forces of good and evil don't want us talking about this, but I love murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be right back. You're listening to Best Denver Psychic, and we'll be with you in just a minute.
Stand on the edge again. Have I found what I'm looking
before. Where am I, my long lost friend? The end of my song, or a beginning once more? Give me a reason not to throw it all away, and tell me why I can't find my better days. 'Cause I should burn this palace and walk my way. 'Cause if I never go, I know I'll never stray. So I'll walk my way. Walk my way. I was told that I was the air, set in stone, locked in my fate. As I go, I hope you care and set me free as I carve my slate. Whoa, give me a reason not to throw it all away, and tell me why I can't find my better days. 'Cause I should burn this palace and walk my way. 'Cause if I never go, I know I'll never stray. So I'll walk my way. Your heart shares these scars, but all this pain has got to pass. I hope you'll find your peace of mind. And when you're gone, no, I won't cry.
Yeah, back on, Gina.
Walk my Give me a reason not to throw it all away, and tell me why I can't find my better days. I should burn this palace and walk my way. 'Cause if I never go, I know I'll never stray. So I'll walk my way. Walk my way. Oh no, said I'll walk my way. And I'll burn this palace down.
You're tuned in to the Freedom Block Network. Thank you for joining us. Free speech, it's all right.
And welcome back to Frieza Block Radio Network. You're listening to Best Denver Psychic. And we're on every week at 8 o'clock sharp, right? We're doing good, keeping
As
it,
sharp as a butter knife. That's
keeping it real, keeping it real.
We are trying to be consistent though, and thank goodness Gina's on all that. So
8 episodes. Can you believe it?
I know, I can't believe it.
I know. I'm so happy that we're
Wow.
together.
And two with Matt. So thank
2
you
with
so
Matt.
much.
Hey, Matt, thank you so much. I mean, having you as a regular contributor is, we really need that scientific
big
kind of an
time.
aspect. And I think the thing that I find is that, we hopefully on this show, we're moving past the fact of, I don't feel like we have to convince people that there's power in symbols. I don't feel like we have to convince people that, certain societies, I mean, not to be salacious, but like Skull and Bones Society, I mean, that is, we're beyond questioning whether or not that's real. I mean, no matter what kind of, no matter what judgment you might make on that, I mean, it's just a fact. So, I think I appreciate that we can view it from two different viewpoints. So why don't you ask Matt what you were going to talk about before we got cut off?
Yeah, I was going to ask, that the thing you use, what is that called again?
It's a EMF detector.
Yeah, the EMF detector. That thing, when you go into like a scene, like let's say, for example, 30, 40, 50 years ago, there was a room or whatever, and you're doing a clearing, and that there was a murder or something pretty gruesome that happened in there, and you find, like, let's say embedded in the wall or something, let's say they take it apart. This is like a total, kind of speculation type of deal. But
a vignette.
When you go in there, how do those things react? What happens, let's say, for example, you find a medallion or something that somebody was wearing that was tortured, mutilated, and
disposed of generally.
Yeah, I guess so.
Moved on, transitioned.
Yeah. So far, with the investigations we've done and what I've experienced myself, unless it's an actual ghost, a sentient being that's attached to it, I can't measure it. So it's only going off of energy from a ghost that actually has the energy about it. So in that instance, if there was a room that had something horrific happen in it, like with a butter knife, unless an actual ghost was attached to that knife, I wouldn't be able to read its energy. However, that's where the psychics come into play, and they would be able to determine that.
Well, and you would have the EMF hit. Yeah, I mean, if the EMF, all right, so say that again here for, if the EMF detector hits, that means there is a sentient being there.
Yes.
Of some sort. Okay, so
Yes.
What Matt does, just to kind of bring Steve up to speed on the actual, and correct me, if there's more to it than this, but Matt goes through first with the EMF detector and identifies all the sources of electronics that are emitting.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that. I mean, Matt kind of he does a baseline reading of all the EMF frequency outputs or whatever that is.
Right. Yeah, I go in with my investigators. We do just kind of a sweep, and see what kind of readings are we picking up. And if we come in and we figure out, okay, well, we've got some sort of reading going on. Is it coming from the fluorescent lighting? Is it coming from the refrigerator? Is it coming from, the cable television in the wall? And so we can kind of rule that out a little bit. One thing that's been really interesting lately, we've had 2 investigations recently where we had high man-made EMFs, and when we get in there with our meters, it will pick up the man-made EMF, and it will also pick up ghost EMF. And we cannot, with the EMF detector, differentiate between the two. And that's where getting psychics involved can help do that.
Now, real quick, a man-made EMF, would that be like something that would maybe come off of a smart meter or something like that? Because I've heard of the smart meters that that they're putting out now are really bad for people. But and they're also emitting lots of radiation and things like that.
And power lines.
But I'm thinking also that's the kind of thing that you're talking about, right? Man-made type of, I guess.
Yes. If a home is wired correctly, and I don't know all the particular specifics and terms for it, electrician probably laugh at my explanation. But if a home isn't wired properly, then we'll pick up the man-made EMF of that power coming from, exo energy going through the outlets. If it is wired properly, then we won't pick that up. So what we do is we can find the man-made EMF pretty easily, and then from there we kind of determine what's really going on.
And Ben is your EMF guy, right?
Yeah, Ben is one of the guys that we've worked with in the past who was very good with that. We also work with Frankie right now, who has also got
that's
a
right.
little bit of electrical
Well,
background.
and I just
Yeah.
want to go back to something I heard you say earlier, which was that you guys weren't experts and that you didn't have degrees in all this, and that's actually not true.
Well, yeah, that's we do.
BS in,
Yeah.
they've got BS. I said BS in applied mathematics. I know he did, and I mean, it's
Yes.
very, it's not some crew of weekend warriors going out there with a bunch of Mattel wannabe, put together
Exactly.
stuff.
Right, a bunch of lights and boxes. Just
Right,
light
and it's all
flash up.
fake, and yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, how very interesting. So what was your, what kind of did you find about Andarta that struck a chord with you? Anything that she was talking about that made you think about, I don't know, objects and energy and maybe a different way of approaching your investigations, perhaps?
Well, I did agree with a lot of what she said, and I think one thing that is important is the perception. I mean, like going back to what she brought up with the swastika and everything. Right now, my daughter who's 2, if I showed her that, it wouldn't really have any meaning to her about that. Maybe something that you couldn't really gauge anything off of that. But once she gets older and realizes what that symbol was used for, that could change her view upon it. And I think that's kind of where also with the pentagram, it wasn't meant to be the evil image, but because how some people have used it or portrayed it, it kind of has that energy that goes with it. Does it itself emit that energy? Good question. I don't think so. But that's something where it'd be interesting to try to measure that. And the psychic party that's coming up, I don't know if any of my team is listening to this, but I'm thinking about trying to put together some sort of a test to see if we can get any readings off of them and what they perceive.
Yeah, and I'd love to, after the show, I'll get you in touch with Andarta, actually. Because I think between the two of you, that makes for super cool radio.
Yeah, and I also we wanted to touch a little bit on the difference between energy and vibration, if there was any difference at all, and the vibration and that I guess people give off, like they give off a vibration of positiveness, and that means like for example, and they actually give it like a frequency number, like 408 is like acceptance, and I don't know if that's real or not, and if you've even heard of anything like that. And joy is like 500, and I think that's the max you can go. Am I just pulling straws out of a hat? What am I doing?
I don't think that's
what
where
am I
you're pulling them
talking
out of, but nice try, Steve. Hat, that was sanitizing, right?
Right. Again, those are things that one thing I'm really thankful about my team is that we're open to that. If there was somebody that could set that up, that had a little more knowledge about it, that could set up, kind of a situation where we can actually try to measure that, we would be there in a heartbeat to try to help, prove the paranormal.
We should do a blind presentation. What would it be? People behind a screen or different people in a room? How far do you have to be away from the emitter in order to pick up a fresh frequency?
And,
I guess that's
exactly what are you trying to pick up?
Just what you just said.
Just that frequency that comes off of an energy or a vibration, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's what we try to measure what we could with the EMF detector. And so as far as proximity, I would start with something slow, just to see if we can pick it up, because sometimes sounds like a low frequency, that's further away you're not going to pick it out.
I got another question here. Let's say somebody's having a bad day. They got up and let's say their wife left them. The dog, they stepped in the dog mess. They got fired from work after they got in a car accident. Just having a real bad day and real bad and real negative. Real unhappy at that point. Let's say you put the EMF emitter on it. What is it going to show? which, I mean, obviously the vibrations are there.
Yeah, and if we were doing some type of test like that, I would have that poor person behind like a screen or a curtain or something, and then I would try to put a psychic in that area next to them to do kind of a neutral evaluation of it and see if they could pick that up. But then I would also try to use the EMF detector to see if we could pick up any type of energy. I don't think we'd be able to determine with the meters whether it was positive or negative. But it'd be interesting to see if we could pick up a reading period.
Have you ever had someone's energy, a specific person's energy, actually jack up or mess up? I should say. You have. You know where I'm going with that?
Yeah, and that's interesting. It was actually with Ben at the time we were doing the investigation, and we were getting readings that were a little bit inconsistent with what the psychics were picking up. So we were thinking, okay, well, maybe the EMF detector's bad, check, make sure the batteries were good, etc. And then it finally kind of dawned on one of the psychics, I can't remember who it was on the time, they're like, maybe it's coming from that. So we did a reading on him, and we were getting some readings off of him, and he had some sort of bad day. And it did affect what was going on. So
a bad day to the point where it affected the EMF detector.
Yeah, he had a little bit of negative energy with him.
Yeah, you think.
We perceived as negative. Yeah. And so we kind of isolated and around with the psychics, and things became a little bit more clear. And then we went through to try to smudge them a little bit. And the smudging at this point is really worked with clearing the negative energy away from them.
From him specifically, or just the imprint from the place?
It was him.
It was him.
It was him.
It was him. No, it was. Yeah. And that happens. I mean, people come in, and they know it's happening to them, and so that's the purpose of the clearing. And there's a lot of different. I would say that energetic clearings are some of the best, in my opinion. Although smudging, for whatever reason, I'm not sure I understand the whole thing. Next time we need to ask Andarta about that.
Yeah.
Methods of removing entities and demonic influences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did this person take that? First of all, I mean, I've seen you be delicate.
Yeah, I thankfully my approach to being delicate has been successful every time we've done it. But,
it's the corporate training.
Yeah. We just kind of pulled on the side and said, hey, you're screwing this up for us. We made sure we could continue helping with the client, and of course took care of him as well.
Right. Huh. Interesting. Well, I'd like to. We need to try that experiment with Matt.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
We never did get to. What was our strip club?
Oh, we never got to Dandy Dance.
We never got to Dandy Dance. Yeah, dude, it's still on the list.
Yeah,
it's still on the list.
Well, that's quite a coincidence. One of the psychics that I work with, she cuts hair with another person who actually, I think that's his hair.
Oh, the owner of Dandy Dance?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, hell, I mean, you got the in, broski.
Well, what happened? Did she bring that up, or what happened on the deal?
Yeah, she did, and from one understanding, he was open to it. We just needed to get it set up.
Nice.
And they did have kind of a downtime. I can't remember what the hours were, but we'd probably go in towards maybe before they close, so we can actually do some interviews, and then the investigation.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool. And he acknowledged the fact that, I think it is haunted. There's something down there, right?
Yeah, and it was, I think he was probably going to divulge more information, but I kind of have my psychics on the mind frame of don't give too much information so they can go in blind.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to know.
Right.
How interesting. And that I can't imagine what the EMF detector would come up with in a room full of strippers. How much energy? I almost said the word boner.
Almost.
I almost said boner. Not funny. All right, Matt, we're going to catch you on the other side of the break. You're listening to Best Denver Psychic on Freeza Block Radio Network.
until we feeling weak, incomplete. Hold your breath, stifling everything. There's no consequential halo, the darkness or no shadow. In retrospect, all will be clear. May only last a lifetime. The clock will never rewind. Accepting of the scale of it as we climb through the open doors of time. I can see clearly the day waits for you. Heartfelt stories of days gone by don't mean a thing when you're wondering why. Heartfelt stories of days gone by don't mean a thing when you're wondering why. Heartfelt stories of days gone by don't mean a thing when you're wondering why. There's no consequential halo, no darkness or no shadow. In retrospect, all will be clear. There's no consequential halo, no darkness or no shadow. In retrospect, all will be clear. May only last a lifetime. The clock will never rewind. Accepting of the scale of it as we climb through the open doors of time.
You're tuned in to the Freedom Block Network. Thank you for joining us. Free speech, it's all right.
All right, and welcome back to Best Denver Psychic. I'm your host, Gina, and I'm here with my co-host and co-pilot and producer,
yes, indeed.
Steve. Sweet. Thanks,
Wow,
Steve.
We ground this bad boy all the way down to zero just about. So, all right. And also wanted to give a big special thanks to Matt Uni for joining us tonight. Hey, man, thank you for hanging out the full 2 hours.
Ann and Darda, you guys,
Yes,
we have
indeed.
the best guests ever. I swear to God.
Yeah, indeed.
It's
All
a
right.
pleasure.
And so, Matt, let's make sure people know where to contact you. You can get a hold of Matt. It's M-A-T-T, last name U-N-E-Y. And you can find him on ColoradoParanormalRescue.com. And you can also email him at ColoradoParanormalRescue@hotmail.com. And you can catch him here on the show whenever he's here. We love having you, Matt.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed being on the show.
Yeah, sweet. We got future plans here.
Yeah, we do have a lot of stuff coming up. So everybody that might be listening or watching, and make sure to leave a comment. If you watch the YouTube channel and you like what you see, and you don't like what you see, whatever, give us a like and a not liking a.
Any subject, right?
Awesome, whatever.
Hey, we can't rest. We're already banned in Germany. God, that's good press.
That's right.
I mean, we're not doing everything right, or we're doing everything
That's
right,
indeed.
depending on where you go with that. How funny. All right. Well, and Steve, tomorrow night's your show, 5:00.
Yep, 5:00. I'm gonna have Rin Shum. His name is Rin Shum, and of course he is also with Rin One Productions, and his band Eighth Element, also with Eighth Element Productions. In his band is 1,000 Shots,
Nice.
or it's at 100 shots or 1,000 shots. I don't know. Tune in and find out, man. I mean, what the hell?
Way to pull it out, Steve. I said pull it out.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. Hey, Matt, thanks again. And
problem.
we'll see you soon. We'll hook up afterwards and get some of these great plans that we have in action.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Holmes. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, man.
All right,
Okay.
Matt.
Bye-bye. Well, all right. So,
Woo! That was a good one,
running on
Steve.
down. Yeah, not too bad.
We're
man.
whittling them down.
Yeah, I'd actually like to do another show just strictly on, because we started really getting into it, when we started talking about specific symbols like pyramids and the eyeball and we didn't even get to the star. So, I mean, I think we definitely can do another couple hours.
Oh, it's a wealth. It's a wealth of information. Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed,
So again, if
indeed.
you're listening and you have any subjects you'd like for us to cover or anything, just feel free to let us know. And we're excited.
Yeah, we are excited indeed.
We are excited. All right. Well, hey, thanks for listening. Best Denver Psychic. You can catch me at bestdenverpsychic.com and Steve 5 o'clock Thursdays on the Frieza block. Great. Well, we'll see you next week.
Hold on, and also on the chocolate drop on razradiolive.com. We're going to be right back at it. We haven't been at it for a while. Check me and my buddy Wayne out. We try to feature lots of hip-hop artists and bands, unsigned and local. Hey, listen in. It's a really fun show. We have a good time. A little bit of politics mixed in, locker room humor, and just fun stuff overall.
Yep.
The chocolate drop, 11 o'clock Mountain Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time.
Bye.
razradiolive.com.
Woo!
Yeah, so don't forget to check us out on the Frieza Block Network next week. So, we will be
Thanks
here
for
next
tuning
week.
in.
Won't we?
Oh, yeah, next week's a break. Steve is
That's right.
vacationing.
Yeah, we're
Hello.
on a vacay, so yes, catch us in 2 weeks from today. So
Take care.
Yes, indeed. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Running through the changes, going through the stages, coming round the corners in my life. Leaving down to fate, staying out too late,